What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode, and you guys have probably been wondering where the heck I've been, and to fill you guys in on that, we just moved into a brand new house. As you can see, it's a little bit different room here, and we finally got moved in. And if you've ever bought a house, you guys know that the process of buying the house and moving in is just a really long process. And the guy, the company that was supposed to be doing our internet, they were supposed to come and they didn't. And then they finally got it all hooked up. So we're back on a normal schedule. We can throw up 2 videos a week, but I have been out hunting. As you guys can see from the thumbnail, I shot a buck. And I've been out hunting and I've recorded a ton of footage. Little disclaimer before we start this video. The one night I went out there to do this hunt. It was an evening hunt. I got set up and got into my heater bodysuit, and I was about to put the camera arm up. And right as I decided to do that, I seen this buck coming, and I had my bow in the stand, had an arrow knocked, and I was like, you know what? I'm shooting this buck. Need some meat in the freezer. He was not a bad buck at all. Pretty decent sized buck. There definitely are some bigger ones on the property that I saw, but we'll go through that later. So unfortunately, guys, I did not get footage of shooting this buck, but I have tons of footage of my bow hunts. And what my plan is for this video, guys, is to basically throw up a clip at a time and kind of narrate what happened that day. And then at the end of my video, guys, I want to go over exactly what had happened to shoot that buck, okay? Without further ado, we're gonna get into the video. I'm gonna roll the clips here of me hunting. These are just gonna be like the deer I seen, and then I'm gonna talk about each clip that we go through, so stay tuned. Alright guys, so the first clip that you're looking at here is, there's a small buck that's basically running down through the valley. I'm up on top of a ridge top here, and it's basically just a young small buck cruising down through the valley, and it looks like there's a doe following him or another small buck. I can't remember exactly what it was, but yeah, they're just kind of cruising through the valley down below me. So this next clip here, this is actually a pretty decent sized buck right here. It's hard to see from the footage because I'm kind of moving the camera on because I don't know if I'm going to get a shot on him. I actually missed a prior shot. He was 20 yards from me, but I wasn't. I was actually on my phone, and the leaves were super wet, so you could not hear him, and it was really windy. I bleed at him a couple times there, trying to get him to turn to come in. But there is a doe trail that he is on at this point, and he basically just follows this doe trail out of sight and takes off from there. Dips behind that big tree that's down in the background and cuts across where some does had came through earlier that day. But like I said, I bleed at this guy. I start grunting at him, trying to get him to turn and come to me, but nothing's working. That's why you always got to be on alert. I was on my phone and turned and looked, and he was standing 20 yards. And I just never got a shot on him after that. But he's a really nice buck, and I hope I see him during gun season here. So this footage here, we're looking at a buck who's decent sized buck. Came through, had a really good 40-yard shot at him, but he only had half a rack, and at that time, I think it was like, I can't remember what day of the week it was, but I still had some days off to hunt. So I tried grunting at him, I tried doe bleating at him, try to get him to come in for some good footage, but he's not taking it. I think it almost spooks him more than anything here. Kind of looks back my way. This stand's really set up good for a south wind. He's kind of cutting through the valley, and as you can see, that grunt and bleat kind of scared him off of the screen, but it's really good for a south wind, and there's really good bedding near me, so I figured I'd catch a buck cruising, checking some bedding. Okay, so as you can see from this footage here, I'm actually on top of the bluff where I shot my buck. Now, there's where this buck walks through is exactly where I shot my buck at, okay? Now, this buck is going to come cruising off of a point. Where the camera's pointed to right now is where a point kind of comes out where these bucks bed or does bed, and they kind of come off of their scent checking. Now, this buck, that buck is right where I shot my buck in the thumbnail there. He is walking exactly where the buck that I shot was. He came down the same exact trail. So they use this trail on top of the bluff scent checking for does. He kind of starts smelling, noticing something's up a little bit, and then he just kind of ventures off on a trail behind me and just dips behind that, and eventually just keeps on cruising to scent check another bed. This clip, guys, we're looking at a group of 4 does. Now this stand is off of a field edge, and you can kind of see the field edge in the background there. But it's off of a field edge, and it's really good on a west wind, west or northwest wind, really good for that. These does basically bed on this point. It's basically like a kind of a knob that comes off of the field. And this is just a group of 4 does that came through, and they're just kind of feeding in the area. Eventually they do know something's up because of the thermals, and unfortunately the thermals were blowing a lot harder than the predominant wind that day. We didn't really have much of a wind, so they ended up winding me and taking off, but still was cool to see them. Had a 40-yard shot on one of them, but just decided not to take it. So actually they take off, and just waiting on more deer after that. Clip here is a doe that basically is cruising behind me. She came in later in the day after those 4 does had come by, and I'm kind of tempted to take a shot at her for some meat in the freezer here, but she comes up behind me there and she keeps cruising through, and she ends up stopping about 25 yards away from me, and I want to take a shot at her, but then I decide not to. I figure she's a little small yet. She can kind of smell me from the wind at this point. It's blowing around my back, or blowing right to her. Usually they kind of cruise in front of me, but she looped around behind me for some reason. So I knew that if I was going to get a shot at her, it was now, or she's going to wind me. And eventually she does, but she just takes off kind of cruising. She doesn't snort, wheeze, or anything like that. This clip here is shortly, not the same time, but later in the evening. It's an evening hunt. I ended up leaving the woods that day after seeing that single doe for a little bit, and and then I came back for the evening hunt, and probably, I don't know, 4:30ish, this buck came cruising through. You can see he's trotting and coming pretty fast. He's hot on the doe trail. He knows that a doe's been through this area. It might have been that one that I decided not to shoot at, but yeah, he's just trucking through and just scent checking beds for does. And there's another point that he basically goes to, that there's a point that he's cruising to right now, and he'll loop around on top of it, and he'll scent check that. But yeah, he just cruised right on through. And earlier this day, I actually had a big 8-pointer cruise right by the stand at 40 yards, but by the time I grabbed my bow, he had been cruising so fast that I never even got a shot at him. But he was a really nice big 8, definitely would have been a wall hanger, but like I said, he was cruising so fast by the time I grabbed my bow, he cleared the window that I had for a shot. This is the last clip that I have for you guys. This is that same 6-point buck came through the valley behind me, and he is just cruising up through here, and there's some doe bedding. We had fresh snow that night, so in the morning when I got in there, I got into the stand, and once it was light out, I could actually see where the doe beds were. And he actually comes through here, and he walks to these doe beds. So you can see that I'm zoomed in right over here at some doe beds, and he walks right to these doe beds that are over there. You can see the ground's kind of cleared where they were bedding, and he starts sniffing these beds. They're about 30 yards away, but you can see him there. He's sniffing one of the doe beds, checking them. This is a prime example to show you guys exactly what bucks are doing during the rut when they find these beds. He basically came in cruising, looking for doe bedding, and he's scent checking doe bedding. So if you guys have never seen what that's like, that's what he's doing right now. He's scent checking these doe beds, and he's just cruising through trying to find these hot does at this point. And there he stops at about 25 yards and just stands there for me. So, but nice deer and cool hunt. Alright guys, so I hope you guys enjoyed that footage so far. Now, basically what I want to do now is turn the camera around and show you a topo view of where I was hunting and when I shot that buck, and I just kind of want to go through the tactics on that and the reason for being in that stand. And some of the footage that you guys seen, like that small buck, he cruised exactly where that buck that I shot moved through. I know I said it like a gazillion times there, but he cruised exactly off of that point. I had does cruise from there. I had other small bucks. That bigger buck that you guys seen that I tried to showcase there, but I was moving the camera around a lot. He came from that point he walked it exactly how those other two bucks did. But it's a really good pinch point there, and the deer funnel really well, and I just want to show you guys the reason why I was there. So I'm going to flip the camera around and go through that really quick. So what we're looking at here is the ridgetop that I've been hunting. So basically, deer generally in ridge country want to be up high so that they can run the leeward sides of the ridges and use the thermals to their advantage. So just to give you guys a rundown on what's illustrated on here is these dots. So like, let's say the pink dot, for example. If we had a north wind, most likely we're going to have bedding from does and bucks on the pink dot. The red is an east wind. We'd have bedding most likely kind of on the leeward side of the ridge where these red dots are. West wind, green dots. South wind, black dot. So I know from past hunts up on this ridge that I know that there's good doe and buck bedding from this point and this point here. I see a lot of deer that'll move into these points in the mornings, and the evenings they'll come cruising off of them. So generally in ridge country, like let's say so for that particular hunt I had a predominant west wind for the most part. So my stand is actually set kind of close to this green dot, I guess you could say. There's a four-wheeling trail that runs up here and around, basically just to the right of that four-wheeling trail, kind of set right here. Now you guys can see that it funnels really well right here. So it drops down pretty steep right there, and it drops down pretty steep right here into these valleys. So deer are most likely going to run on the top right here because they're not going to want to walk down in these valleys too much. So with a west wind, you're going to have the thermals as the day heats up, push up the ridge, right? So a lot of these bucks are going to cruise this top third of the ridge, scent checking where the bedding is to see if there's a hot doe. So they'll kind of come off of this point, they'll get up from their bed, come cruising through here, and then scent check this bed and scent check this bed for hot does. So what happened during that day is I was set up here. I came in for the evening hunt. I got set up probably closer to 3 o'clock. Like I said, didn't even have time to get the camera gear off, and I seen this buck coming. He was probably right about here on that point. I seen him coming, and he came along, cut onto the four-wheeling trail, and funneled right to me for a 25-yard shot. So I just want to show you guys exactly what this buck was doing on this ridge. And what he was doing is he was getting up for the evening to go scent check for hot does. The best time of the year to kill a buck is, during the rut time, scent checking for does is they'll just basically run the leeward side of the ridge. If you guys have ever heard of Dan Infalt, that's basically where I learned this stuff. He's just a mastermind when it comes to shooting big bucks, and like he said, deer will run the leeward side of the ridge, because if let's say you have a south wind, right, and a buck's bedded off of this point, the thermal comes up the hill, he can smell what's below him, he can see what's below him, plus you have the south wind coming off the top of the ridge and he can smell what's behind him. We had a west wind, and I know that on a west wind, generally we have bedding off of this point right here. It's the leeward side, and there's generally bedding right there. So what happened was I got into the stand and I came around and walked the cornfield edge right here, came up the back side of this bluff, and I got into my stand. So he had no idea that I was set up here. If I would have came in over here and accessed the stand, he most likely could have either seen me, heard me come into this stand. So I came in over here, walked up the bluff and got set. He had no idea that I came in behind him, guys. So this bluff has been really good for me. I've had a lot of does cruise through this funnel right here. I've had a lot of bucks cruise through. I had a really nice 8 that I didn't get to shoot at. So hopefully during gun season I can see that just like over here is a really good funnel too. It's really steep on this side of the ridge. Not so steep here, but pretty steep here, and still pretty steep, so they would funnel right here well as well. So I just really wanted to showcase that for you guys, to show you exactly what I was thinking and why I was sitting there for the rut. Alright guys, so there you have it. So I just wanted to make this video. I know that I didn't get the shot on film, and I'm really sorry about that, and I guess the thumbnail was a little clickbaity, but I did kind of throw that in there in the beginning of the video that there wasn't going to be a shot on the buck. Like I said, by the time I got set, guys, he had came in, or was coming already, and there was no time to really set it, the camera up and whatnot, and I had been hunting pretty hard before then, took days off of work to hunt, so but like I said, I seen some really good bucks. I seen two really nice bucks. One was on the bluff, and you guys seen him on video. He was a pretty good sized buck for that area. And then the other buck, I actually didn't get footage of him because I was too worried about grabbing my bow, and even then I wasn't fast enough to get a shot at him, but he was huge, 8 or 10, one of the two. He was big. I looked over and I seen him and I was like, holy crap, that is a huge buck, and I just got set to try to take a shot at him. But like I said, guys, I seen a lot of deer. There's even more footage of deer on there that I didn't put into the video, but a lot of the spots that I hunted were just hunting ridge country, hunting the leeward side of ridges, and just trying to hunt funnels on these ridges to get good shots at these deer. On the bluff, I had never really bow hunted that a ton, but I really wanted to give it a good try this year because there was a ton of activity over that way when I scouted it in the preseason. So I really wanted to focus my attention there this year and try to get some good hunts in there, and it paid off. I got a decent buck out of it. Should have been able to shoot that one, but didn't. So hopefully gun season I'll get a shot at him. But hope you guys enjoy this video. I am going to be videoing for gun season as well this Saturday, and I'm also going to hit my regular schedule of 2 videos a week. So I'm all moved into the new house, guys. Thank you for being patient with me, and I promise we'll be back to the normal schedule of 2 videos a week. And if you guys have any video ideas, throw them in the comments below. Otherwise, stay tuned and keep on the lookout for a gun hunting video after this weekend. So, love you guys. Thank you for all the support. And like I always say, keep hunting hard.